Hey guys, it's JJ Peters here. In today's edition of the Sports Town podcast, me and Michael discuss Carson Wentz to the Colts, some NFL free agency predictions, Fernando Tatis gets paid, and a whole lot more. Thanks for watching, and you'll enjoy today's episode of the STP Pod.
Here we go.
Before we start today's podcast, I'd like to give a shout out to IE Sports Radio. Larry B is the CEO of IE Sports Radio. Over the last 5.5 years, IE Sports Radio has become an international sports podcast network consisting of a team of over 30 colleagues that range from California throughout the United States and into Canada that was assembled through social media. They have a large total of shows that revolve each year from shows concentrating on single sports to themed shows lacing other concepts with sports and a regional series covering sports in different regions of the USA. They are available on a variety of platforms, including iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more. You can listen to them on Spreaker, where they host all their shows live. You can reach them at iesportsradio@gmail.com, and be sure to check out their social media pages on Twitter and Instagram at IE Sports Radio, and also on Facebook at IE Sports Radio. Well, it's time for our weekly poll question. You can vote on Instagram at Facebook at Sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at SportstownPod. Today's question, or this week's question, was how excited are you guys for MLB spring training? Really excited or not at all? 67% of you and overwhelmingly said you were not excited for spring training. Again, thanks for voting. You can vote on Instagram and Facebook at Sportstown_podcast or on Twitter at SportstownPod, and soon to be our website at SportstownPodcast.com. Ryan Newman and Rush Fenway Racing will be the first NASCAR team to go carbon. On Thursday, it was reported that Rush Fenway Racing are achieving the PAS 2060 carbon neutral for its entire team. Rush Fenway Racing has two full-time Cup drivers, Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher. Newman will drive an all-white Castrol Edge Ford Mustang for the next upcoming race on Sunday at the road course on Daytona International Speedway. There are a plethora of tracks in NASCAR that are all solar-powered that include Daytona, Watkins Glen, Pocono, and Indianapolis. Last week, Ryan Newman finished 38th, and Chris Buescher finished 31st for NASCAR's crown jewel event, the Daytona 500. Rory McIlroy, the four-time major champion, has been elected as one of the players in the PGA Tour Advisory Council. McIlroy will replace Jordan Spieth and will serve a 3-year term. The 2019 Players Champion defeated Kevin Streelman and Russell Knox to be on the council for the PGA Tour. The fourth-ranked golfer in the world would join James Hahn, Charlie Hoffman, and Kevin Kisner. The seventh-ranked golfer in the world will be on the advisory council until at least 2024. The 31-year-old had a tough week as he missed the cut at the Genesis Open and finished at 7 over par. Fernando Tatis will be with the Padres for at least 2035. The 22-year-old has signed the third biggest contract in terms of value in baseball history, only behind Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. What a deal. The deal is worth $340 million over the next 14 seasons. Pretty soon, players are going to be signing lifetime contracts. Tatis is a rising superstar and finished 4th in the NL MVP voting last season. He also won the NL Silver Slugger Award and would have been selected to the All-Star game if there had been one. Last season, his stats were a .277 batting average, 17 homers, and 11 steals. He was a huge part in the Padres' playoff run. He had a huge series against the Cardinals in the wild card round and came back to beat St. Louis. The Padres now have almost $840 million tied to just their infield alone. That include Manny Machado, who last season, or at the start of the 2019 year, signed a 10-year, $300 million contract. They also acquired Blake Snell from the Rays and Yu Darvish from the Cubs. San Diego will have a great chance to compete with the Dodgers and Cardinals for the top spot in the NL. Tim Tebow, former Heisman Trophy winner, national champion, and former NFL draft first-round pick, has decided to retire from playing baseball. The 33-year-old was playing for the Mets minor league system, had the chance to play in the big leagues if everything went well in spring training this season. However, Tebow has decided to forgo that choice and will pursue other options. The former Florida product signed with the Mets in 2016 and homered his first at bat in 2017 with the Columbia Fireflies, which was the Mets' Class A South Atlantic League. Tebow was an all-star in 2018 with the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, which was the New York Mets Double-A affiliate. However, on July 11th, 2018, Tebow injured his hand that caused him to miss the rest of the season. The next season, Tebow was moved up to play for the Mets Triple-A team in Syracuse. However, he injured his left pinky in July to cause him to miss the rest of the season. In 2020 season, the season was shut down due to COVID, and Tebow never played in the minor leagues again. Along with being a former professional baseball player, the former Heisman Trophy winner has many foundations under his name and has been an SEC college football analyst with ESPN, along with many other ventures. The New York Mets organization thanked him for his time and wished him the best moving forward. The NCAA tournament will have fans. Good news for college basketball fans. The NCAA announced the news on Friday, February 19th. The NCAA will allow 25% capacity for every venue. 68 teams get selected every year to the NCAA tournament, and the venues will be Baker's Fieldhouse, Indiana Farmers Coliseum, Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, and Assembly Hall, along with Hinckley Fieldhouse. Fans will be required to wear a mask and social distance. The teams will be staying at Indiana Convention Center, which have practice facilities for most of the teams. Selection Sunday is on March 14th, and the tournament will officially begin on March 16th. The Final Four in the NCAA championship game will be played at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana on April 3rd and April 5th. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers and San Diego Chargers wide receiver Vincent Jackson has passed away at the age of 38. Jackson was found dead on Monday, February 15th, 11:38 a.m. Eastern Time. A housekeeper found him dead in Homewood Suites Hotel in Brandon, Florida. Hillsburg County Sheriff has opened an investigation about the death of the former NFL receiver. According to the police, there were signs of trauma. Jackson played in the NFL for 12 seasons and officially retired in 2018. He played for the Chargers and Buccaneers. He was drafted by the Chargers in the second round of the 2005 NFL Draft and was a three-time Pro Bowler. He had 6 years of 1,000 or more yards and had 57 touchdowns, in his 12-year career. He also had 540 receptions for 9,080 yards. Jackson was nominated for the Walter Payton of the Year 4 times. The former Northern Colorado product will be greatly missed not only as a player, but as a man. And last but not least, Anthony Davis will be out for at least 2 to 3 weeks with a calf strain. The news was first reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. He will return likely after the All-Star break. He will be reevaluated around March 5th. The good news for the Lakers fans is Davis did not rupture anything and will most likely be 100% for the postseason. Davis is a 7-time All-Star and a former All-Star MVP. He was a huge help to the Lakers winning a championship last season in the bubble. Davis is a huge contributor for the Lakers, and most likely Los Angeles will struggle without the use of their star power forward. Right now, the Lakers are 22-7 and are the second best team in the NBA, only behind the Utah Jazz.
All right, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Menser. Michael, how is it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Let's just jump right into it. Carson Wentz, the big story in the NFL, gets traded to the Colts. Most of us saw it happening. What was your first reaction on the trade that sent Carson Wentz to Indy?
I'm kind of surprised it was to the Colts, to be honest. I didn't think it was going to be the Colts. I thought it was going to be some other team, possibly like the Saints maybe, or maybe like the Vikings. I didn't think it was going to be the Colts.
Yeah, and I thought there was a chance that he could go to the Colts. A lot of people were saying that. I actually thought maybe the Bears would be the best option for him. And a lot of Bears fans, I don't think, wanted it to happen because they want to just draft a quarterback and start over. But I think Carson Wentz fits the best in Indianapolis just because Frank Wright is former offensive coordinator who he had the most success with. They were able to go, well, he was the MVP until he got hurt, and then they still reached the Super Bowl with Nick Foles and ended up winning. How well of a coach do you think Frank Wright, or how successful do you think Frank Wright will be in his first year with Carson Wentz, Michael?
I think he should do pretty good because he was already proven he could be a good coach. And also, Wentz has proven he could be a good quarterback if he has the right coaches. So I think he could be potentially. I think it'll take a little bit to for them to get kind of accustomed to each other, but I think eventually they will be pretty good.
Yeah, and I think again Carson Wentz is not a top 10 quarterback right now. The last few years have not been good, but I think if you give him the right coaching staff and the right, right situation, because in his first few years in Philly, it was a good situation, and then for some reason something happened. The injury I think was big, and of course Frank Wright leaving was another, factor in I think his struggles. But I think after this year, the Colts will probably end up winning the AFC South. They'll go 11-5, probably take a 3 or 4 seed. They're not going to be the best team just because the Ravens and Chiefs are so good. But I think they'll end up taking probably the 3 or 4 seed, 11-5, and Carson Wentz become a top 10 quarterback and get back to the MVP conversation. And in my opinion, the Eagles got fleeced. I mean, all they got was a 3rd-round pick and maybe a 1st-round pick. It will probably be a 1st-round pick if he plays 75% of the snaps, or they play 70% and they end up going to the playoffs. Who do you think won that trade, Michael?
Honestly, I could see both teams. I think it was a pretty even trade because the Eagles didn't really give up, or the Colts didn't really give up too much, and for the Colts could also potentially do really good with Wentz, or if they don't, if Wentz doesn't do very good, at least they didn't give up like a 1st-round pick or anything. So, but the Eagles, I think they definitely wanted to get rid of Wentz, and so I think Hurts is definitely the future there. So, yeah, I think both teams probably, as of now, I think it was a pretty even trade.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming Carson Wentz is going to play 75% of the snaps this year, or at least 70% and make the playoffs. So if he does that, the Eagles will end up getting the Colts' 1st-round pick. So that's what I'm assuming is going to end up happening, because even if he doesn't play 75%, they're probably going to reach the playoffs. And I couldn't see him not playing less than 70% unless he got injured or something, was out for the majority of the season. He's gonna at least play 70%, in my opinion. They're gonna make the playoffs. Do you think the Colts win the AFC South next year?
I think they'll at least probably get a wild card, but yeah, I do think they have a good chance. I still think Tennessee is also pretty good, but I think as of now, I would say the Colts are a little bit better. So I would say they would win the AFC South.
Yeah, I don't know about the Titans though. I mean, I don't have much confidence in Deshaun Watson. Geez. I don't have much confidence in Ryan Tannehill, just because I think he lost the game versus the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, I think, played really well in that game. But if you remember that game, Ryan Tannehill threw the big interception. I'm not sure if that was his fault, or I think it was A.J. Brown he was looking for. But I think the Titans lost that game because of Tannehill, and I think Tannehill makes the Titans not the best team in the division just because he's the quarterback. I think if the Titans had an elite quarterback or a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill, they'd be one of the top teams in the league just because of how good Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown are. But yeah, I could see the Colts win the division. I see them going 11-5 and probably grabbing the 4 seed, because again, you got Kansas City, you got Baltimore, and you got Buffalo as the top 3 seeds in my opinion. But we'll definitely see. We know that the Colts are better than the Texans, even with Deshaun Watson. But we all know that. What do the Eagles do now, Michael? Now that it looks like Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. Do you assume that he's going to be the guy?
Yeah, I assume so, unless he doesn't play good next season or something. But I think he has shown potential, and I think he is a decent quarterback. And I think if I'm an Eagles fan right now, the next thing I want them to do is just start building around him, getting more weapons. I know they just released Deshaun Watson, or not Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Jackson. So getting like more receivers, I think, is definitely going to be big for them.
I mean, they have the 6th overall pick, so I'm assuming they'll either get a wide receiver or maybe even Kyle Pitts, because it seems like Zach Ertz is out of there. What do you think the Eagles need to do going forward? Just help Jalen Hurts? Should they draft a receiver, offensive lineman? I mean, what do you think they should do this offseason?
I definitely think, especially since this class is pretty heavy on running backs and receivers, and they obviously Kyle Pitts is still also really good. I think they get one of those 3, and then maybe like 2nd or 3rd round, get like a couple offensive linemen, and then also just use some of those mid-round picks to kind of beef up the defense a little bit.
Yeah, and that Eagles team has a lot of holes in it right now. And I was listening to some people and listening to some sources, And they had said that, there's a chance that Jalen Hurts isn't the starting quarterback next season. I don't know why. I don't know why the Eagles would go out and draft a quarterback. I mean, they have a chance to. But they drafted Hurts last year, and Hurts played, I thought, pretty well to be the starting quarterback. But yeah, I could see them going out and signing a few receivers. Maybe if Devontae Smith is still available at the 6th overall pick, there's a good chance he will be. If not, there is a plethora of wide receivers available. That offensive line is a little suspect. I mean, Jason Peters, he's probably done. Jason Kelsey, not sure what's going to happen with him. They know they have Andre Dillard, a young offensive tackle, but he has not been great. Do you move him to right tackle and make a move for Orlando Brown with the Ravens? You'll probably have to give up a first-round pick for that. But there's a lot of things they can do. Let's go back to the Colts. Carson Wentz, now in his fourth, fifth season, or I think he's in with his fifth or sixth season. I can't remember now. He's been in the league a long time now. But what do you think the Colts should do in the offseason? Because it looks like they're going to lose T.Y. Hilton. They need some more wide receivers. Their running game is stacked. They got a good defense. Their coaching staff is great. Do you think they need to add a few receivers this offseason, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's really the only thing that they need, and then just getting depth at places.
Yeah, I don't know. Their defense is pretty good. I'm not sure if they need to add maybe one more corner or maybe a safety or maybe a passer. It seems like they're pretty stacked at every position except for the wide receiver position. And again, this is not what Carson Wentz has had. When he went to the Eagles, they never really had a great receiving core for him. Yeah, they had Zach Ertz, but Alshon Jeffrey was basically his top target. That's not great. They brought back Deshaun Jackson. He was older. So it'd be very fun to watch Carson Wentz around a really good team and see what he can do in a great coaching staff. I'm excited for Wentz because I think he definitely deserves it. I think he kind of got screwed in Philly. How excited are you, or how well do you think Carson Wentz will do next season, Michael?
I think he's probably going to play pretty good just because, again, going back to when he was really good and they made it to the Super Bowl, he didn't have great receivers, but, he had the top tight end. He had a pretty good offensive line. He had a good defense running game. Coaching staff was, yeah. But, he just had a lot better supporting cast, and I think the Colts supporting cast is even better than what the Eagles had at the time. So I think he could potentially do really good.
Well, it's so strange because, as we all know, we thought that Doug Peterson was done with Carson Wentz was the whole reason. So then they fired Doug Peterson, want to keep Carson Wentz, and then Carson Wentz is still mad. I was kind of confused on exactly what happened there because it felt like it was Doug Peterson and then it was the whole Eagles organization. That whole team, I think, is a mess, and they're not going to be good for a while. It's going to take them a while to rebuild, but I think Jalen Hurts is the guy. But, do you know exactly what happened with the Eagles after winning the Super Bowl, Michael? Because it seemed like everything fell apart after that.
Yeah, I think really it started when Wentz kind of got re-injured, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, should they have kept Nick Foles is kind of the question, because after the next year Carson Wentz came back and he wasn't the same. So eventually I think it was late in the season they decided to rest him and put Nick Foles in, and then they started winning again. Should they have kept Nick Foles?
Yeah, I think so. Just especially because Carson Wentz has had a lot of injury problems too. I think they probably should have kept Nick Foles. Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably would have been expensive, but I think it would have. What we've seen the last few years in the NFL. It pays to have a good backup because you never know what's going to happen. In the last few years, we've seen that teams just don't have a good backup quarterback, and that's one of their problems. And they don't think they need to invest in one, which is definitely a must, especially with all these injuries we've had recently. Jumping over to NFL free agency, do you think Dak Prescott is the guy, and do you think he returns to Dallas next season?
From what I've been hearing, yes, I do think so. Yeah, I from what I've been hearing, I think he does.
What kind of contract do you think? Do you think it's going to be a $40 million a year situation, over $200 million? What do you think? We should say, what do you think Jerry Jones allows here? Because he's definitely the guy who will make the end decision.
I think it'll be a bigger contract, but not like a huge, like top 10, top 7 quarterback contract. I don't think it will be one of those, but I think it will be pretty big.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna probably disagree with you there because I think if the Cowboys decide to keep Dak Prescott, which I think will end up happening, they're gonna have to break the bank almost and probably give him over 200 million because the last few years they continue to franchise tag him, continue to franchise tag him. Now, if they do franchise tag him again, Dak Prescott will probably want out, which would be interesting to see where he would go and how his market is shaped. Like, is it shaped like Stafford's or is it shaped more like Wentz? I mean, there's a lot we can say. Let's see here. Top receivers right now. There's a lot of good receivers out there. Let's start with AJ Green. You're actually a big fan of his. Do you see him returning to Cincy?
I don't think so, just because one, he's old, two is he's very injury prone. And I also think that he had a lot of chemistry with Andy Dalton. And so I don't think he necessarily has the same chemistry as he does with Joe Burrow. So I think I could potentially see him maybe going to the Cowboys just to be like a backup because isn't Andy Dalton on the Cowboys?
Right now he is. I think he's a free agent after this season, or actually, you know what? I think it might have been a 2-year deal. So yeah, he would still be with the Cowboys when this next season started.
Okay, yeah. So I could see him maybe coming back to be like a backup just because Andy Dalton's there, and they have tend to have good chemistry.
Yeah, that would be interesting if AJ Green went to Dallas. Again, I don't think the Cowboys, if they pay Prescott, are going to have much money at all to sign any players because again, they signed Prescott to over 200 million, and they signed already Amari Cooper. They signed Zeke. I mean, they're not going to have any money to really do anything else. But
Yeah, that is if Dak doesn't return because then Andy Dalton will be the starting quarterback likely. So I think if they don't keep Dak, then they'll probably will take AJ Green and use him as like maybe like a backup or like a rotational receiver. So
well, I mean, if you look at Dak Prescott's history with the Cowboys, it seems like he wants to stay in Dallas. He wants to do everything he can, but he continues to get franchise tag, and I think eventually that will eventually peel off, and he'll get really mad, and he'll want out. So I would probably think if he does get traded, don't be surprised if the 49ers try to make a move because they just need a quarterback, and I think they would have probably won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I guess it would have been last year if they would have had the right quarterback. I mean, if you just look at Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not the guy, I don't think. Now, again, do the 49ers have enough money? We'll see what happens because Jimmy Garoppolo is making a decent amount and they're struggling with any cap because I think they want to make a move for Watson, but I don't think they have the money. Realistically, Michael, if Prescott gets traded, who could you see him landing with next season?
uh I mean the Bears could potentially I think be a candidate. Uh I think like you said the 49ers could also be another option, and then maybe the Steelers too if Big Ben doesn't come back.
That would be a good move. I mean, but the Steelers really don't have any money though. So if you sign Prescott, you
That's
pretty much
true.
have to. You pretty much have to give him a massive contract. So I mean, I think the Niners, maybe the Raiders make a move for him because I feel like the Raiders want Watson, but and I think Derek Carr's time in Vegas is over with. But I mean, there's the Raiders. I think the Niners. I mean, you could think of the Bears. I didn't even think about the Bears either. That was actually a good idea. Um, you know what? I think there's a few more topics here. I'm not thinking of anything right now just because right now is so dead. Do you think there's any surprises in free agency happening? Do you think or what I should say is, do you think there is any signings that kind of shock you going to a certain team?
Are you talking like you think that that I think will happen at some point, or just like
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, just what's your predictions on free agency? Who goes where? Who like what top names go where? And do you think there's any guy that gets traded? Just something like that.
uh I think I could see the Bengals actually signing one of the top free agent receivers like Allen Robinson or I can't think of the other guy's name,
I mean, there's
but I could see that one of the Bengals getting one of him getting Allen Robinson, and then uh I think Clowney also stays with the Titans too, and then I think um I think the Steelers also do move on from Big Ben. That's my bold kind of prediction,
Okay.
and maybe go after like Deshaun Watson.
That would be great. I think that would be a great move by the Steelers. Unfortunately, I don't think Pittsburgh really has the money. And plus, I mean, the Steelers, I think, have no choice but to keep Big Ben unless he just wants to be a backup. And I think that's the only thing that's really holding the Steelers back is they don't have a quarterback, and they probably need another running back, maybe a tight. They need a tight end as well because I think Vance McDonald is out of there. Yeah, that's bold. I didn't think, man, I just can't see Big Ben leaving the Steelers. And if he does, I think he just
that's my hot take.
Your hot take. That's a big topic, right? That's a big topic right there because I don't think a lot of people are thinking that. But that'd be crazy, and I definitely think the Steelers need to do that. They probably won't, but they should because again, the Steelers need a quarterback. They were so good last year. Their defense is great. They just need a quarterback, a guy that can at least throw it more than 5 feet, and a guy that can stay in the pocket longer than 5 seconds. Let's see here. I think that's all we got today. Again, thanks for watching. You can subscribe, review, rate, and also don't forget to check Michael's channel out. It's Mr. M. It's a big gaming channel. Michael, do you have any? Can you give us any update on your gaming channel or anything like that?
That is for me to know and you guys to find out later.
Okay. So he's making that a mystery. But again, don't forget to check his channel out. Again, guys, thanks for watching. And Michael, thanks for coming on. And hopefully
Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right, as Pat McAfee would like to say, that's the show.
Thanks for watching the Sports Town podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content.